Hello, and good. What's on my shirt? Oh, I don't know. Okay. Anyway, how are y'all? It has been a very crazy week. This week has been intense. The energy is intense. I've been having weird experiences in my meditations. Not only like energetically is it super heavy for me. Maybe your experience is different. This is what I'm experiencing. Just density. And then even in my 3D, very heavy, dense experiences. I've been just exhausted. And I feel like something has shifted. And while what we're experiencing is very heavy and very dense, it simultaneously feels like we're being elevated above it all. Like our frequency is getting turned up a notch. And because we're getting this like lift of frequency, it's making all the density in our body even more noticeable than before. So this is a positive if you're feeling just exhausted, either not hungry or super hungry, antsy, a little bit maybe not like depressed, but just kind of down. This is normal for what is occurring right now. We're getting blasted with such high frequency light that all of this is just coming up to the surface. I feel like I've been closing out cycles this week over and over and over again. I've been being triggered by things that I haven't been triggered by in years. And I believe it's because I'm closing out these cycles that I've been in. And I needed to be triggered by it one last time to really like sit with the trigger, sit with the memories, sit with all of whatever was coming up, not going searching for things to clear, but just whatever arises, being with it, sitting with it, comforting ourselves through it so the cycle can be closed out. Choosing to respond differently, even if it's something you thought you closed out years ago and it's coming back up to the surface, just respond with your new level of awareness. That is what is needed. It's not coming up to show you that you're moving backwards. It's coming up so that the version of you that you are now, the level of consciousness that you have now, can respond to it in a new way. Even if you thought you closed it out and responded to it in the best way you could back all those years ago, you still didn't have the level of consciousness that you have now. So your level of consciousness that you have now is needed to observe and go through and close out this cycle. So don't be alarmed. Don't be alarmed. There's a lot coming up, but also like crazy experiences, like abilities are coming online. I feel like I've just been in my meditations, I've been being taken places that it's never happened to me before. Like usually I just meditate and I observe my thoughts and my emotions and get like words that come to me, like just downloads. But I've been like being taken places. I don't know why I'm being called to talk about this particular experience I had yesterday. I was meditating and all of a sudden I was at this stream and instantly I thought, oh, this is the stream of consciousness. I'm like, okay. So then I followed it, like it was flowing this way and I followed it going the opposite direction. And when I got to the top of the stream, it was a giant waterfall pouring down from the heavens. Like literally it was coming from nowhere. It was just coming from the sky. And then all of a sudden, as I moved into the waterfall, my avatar, my human body cracked open and I was just this orb of light. And I traveled up the waterfall into wherever I went at the top, and I just sat there, and it was almost like I was going there to rest and recover, because after I sat up there, like, I feel like it transported me somewhere, and I was just like resting up there for a little while, just as this orb of light, being bathed in this like beautiful water, this beautiful, it was like light but also water, I don't know, whatever. And then after I was done resting, I went straight back down through this waterfall into the stream of consciousness. And it was like I was the stream of consciousness, because my body cracked away and I was just this orb of light, and I morphed into this stream and I became the stream. Whatever. It was really cool. I just felt called to share that for some reason, but that was yesterday. So I've been having a lot of experiences in my meditations like that, where I'll just go places and have these random experiences that are being orchestrated on a higher level. Because of course, when I go into meditation, I call on the presence of my highest self, of the source within, and I call on the presence of my angels and the presence of God. And I think all of this is just being facilitated for me to experience. So maybe you're having similar experiences during meditations, but the point of this video is just to talk about like what is really like the real shit that's happening right now, like the real emotions that are coming up. Yes, we're going through a massive rebirth. We're going through something beautiful. We're having more and more connection with other dimensional beings and all of these cool things. And it's beautiful, but at the same time, it's very heavy and it can feel very dense at times. And this is normal. There's nothing wrong with our experience. This is exactly what needs to happen. Everything is occurring perfectly and in divine timing. It's like we're like truly we are going through the rebirth. We went through the death. We entered through this portal that death is, because death is not actually final. That's when we believe that death is final, that's our own, or even just the fact that we can perceive of death in the physical reality is, what did I write down when I was meditating? It's our own consciousness projecting onto the field our fears and our belief in separation. So just forgive it, because we're in this third dimensional realm. We're going through a very dense experience. Just forgive it. Everything is being projected from your subconscious, from the collective consciousness, and even just being able to perceive of death in the physical reality is simply just our own subconscious projection showing us what we're believing to be true, that we're believing that we are separate from God, that we are believing in the fear of dying, that it's final, and all of this. So we just forgive it and move through it, holding that level of consciousness that death is not final. It's a portal that leads to a rebirth, metaphorically and like literally physically. I feel as though there are already many of us who have gone through ego death after ego death after ego death. I believe that the whole world right now is going through one giant ego death. And if you're sensitive, you can feel that. You can feel this collective death, this collective ego death that is happening right now. And it's very heavy. So I think right now it's important to practice cleansing rituals, whether that's with sage or taking a cleansing bath or breath work, meditation, whatever tools you like to use to cleanse your space and to cleanse your energy, I would recommend that, because a lot of the density we're experiencing right now is not ours. It's like more of a collective, coming from the collective consciousness on the planet. And if you have properly, I don't want to say exited the collective, but if you have like detached from the collective, it's technically not yours. It belongs to this collective that's going through this grand collective ego death, something that you've perhaps already been through, a death that you've already experienced, that your ego has already experienced. And so just practicing all of these cleansing rituals will help you to keep that elevated state while we observe and go through this ourselves. I don't have much else to say today. I'll be back. I've been sitting in a lot of density the past almost week, which is part of the human experience. And it's about how you perceive it as you go through it. There's nothing wrong with experiencing density. There's nothing wrong with moving through density. The way to move through density is, or I guess I hate the word test, but I don't know what else to say. The test of moving through density is your perspective, your level of consciousness as you move through it. Right? So it's not about keeping your vibe high and being positive and all of this. It's about your frequency. Your frequency is your ability to have a higher perspective as you move through lower vibrations. There's nothing wrong with moving through low vibrations as long as you don't dip down and react through the lower vibrations. Give in to them. You want to be able to keep your frequency elevated, your level of consciousness and awareness elevated as you move through the lower vibrations. So the lower vibrations are just an experience that you're having, and your frequency is the level of consciousness you hold as you're experiencing them. There's nothing wrong with the experience. So just to keep that in mind, these coming weeks, months, years, however long this will take, I don't pretend to know, but what is your perception of everything as you move through it? Are you falling back into victim mentality? Are you falling back into the ego of like, oh, everything is horrible and death is so final and blah, like all of these like woe stories? There's nothing wrong with the tales of woe as long as you see that you're in them and then hold a higher level of consciousness as you experience them. There's nothing wrong with experiencing these stories. The only reason we suffer as we experience these stories is because we attach to them and we believe that they're true. We believe that they're us. But as long as you can see that you're in one of these stories and allow yourself to experience it while holding a higher level of consciousness, that's all that's needed of you. There's no need to shame yourself for having a low vibrational experience. That's not how it works. That's not the point. You kind of will just continue to have this same lower vibrational experience until you go through it with a higher level of consciousness. So the point is not to have the experience. The point is, where is your consciousness level at as you go through it? But there's nothing wrong with the experience itself. And that comes back around so that we're closing out old cycles. Things that haven't triggered you in years might be triggering you. Emotions that you haven't felt in years may be coming up. And this is because you're at a higher level of consciousness now, and the cycle is needing to be closed by you, by the version of you that you are right now at this level of consciousness. Your level of consciousness is needed to experience this emotion, to experience this trigger again at a higher level of consciousness so that you can close it out. So just pay attention to that. Don't get too lost in it. I know it's easy to get lost in it. I understand. So just forgive yourself when you get lost in it. And change your perspective so that you can close it out at a new level of consciousness. But that's what I have this week. That's what I'm feeling this week. Is lots of grace and compassion for myself, for the experience, while I experience these lower frequency, these lower vibrational, like denser things. There's nothing wrong with the experience of density. There is nothing wrong with the experience of what humans perceive to be low vibrations. They're just an experience. It has nothing to do with whether or not you're experiencing them. It has everything to do with your perception and your level of consciousness as you experience them, okay? So I love you. Thank you for being here at this time. Much respect, gratitude, honor, and I'll talk to y'all later.